Hey guys, welcome to another review. Today I am reviewing the newest episode of The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 10, The Next World. I'm not exactly sure why it's called The Next World. Maybe that's just because I was oblivious to some facts or something, but man, this was a filled episode. It went by real fast watching it, and I was just like, wow, this is going to be easy to review, but then it's always these talking episodes where they have a lot of discussions and stuff, where I have a lot to talk about and I have to write down a ton of stuff to remember it. And I think this was an outstanding episode. I think of all the episodes of this season, this is one of the better ones. It's probably on the upper of the list. It was just a lot of fun. It's rare that I get fun on The Walking Dead and not just, this was good and sad and depressing and scary and all put together and action-packed. This one was more of, this episode, I would say it's comedic and lighthearted, really. I mean, of all the Walking Dead episodes, this is one of the most lighthearted. It kind of made me feel like I went back to Season 3 or Season 2 when stuff was a bit more lighthearted and all, and they went out and scavenged a lot more back then, so I kind of got that vibe from it. And I like that a lot. It's a lot of fun to finally be taken back there. So, anyway, the episode starts with Rick, I believe, sitting at like a desk, and the camera like pans over this picture of Carl with his eye patch, and he's holding Judith, and it's black and white because remember, Aaron can't take colored pictures or anything like that. And that is supposed to kind of tell us that it's been quite a time skip. Now, I've looked it up. People say that it's about 2 months since the previous episode. So, after Carl lost his eye, now it's skipped to this point. It's not just, because this might be confusing for some people, because the episode doesn't say 2 months later, it doesn't say anything like that. It sort of leaves everything up to your opinion and what you see, and I'm not even sure if the creators came out and talked about it. I just looked up real quick and saw some stuff, and I was like, okay, 2 months seems legit. So, by this point, Carl's eye is mostly healed, he's up and walking around, no one seems depressed, and Rick seems really happy in this episode. I like it. I haven't seen Rick happy in a while because this entire season has been like a struggle for him, and the season before that was a struggle, so to finally have it where everything's lifted off of his back, even though his son's lost his eye and Jesse's dead, he's gone through the grieving process of that, and now he's just ready to have fun again. That's nice. Okay, so, just a second. So, Rick and Daryl decide to go out scavenging this time, and Daryl gets a request from Denise to get, like, a bunch of stuff, medical stuff, but then on the list is soda. And that is, she calls it pop, because she's from Ohio, I think, or something like that. And that was a funny little exchange between Daryl and her, but that one thing pretty much causes all of the little tribulations of this episode, and that is funny. It's like, it's kind of got a lot of humor to it. This whole episode just feels like some sort of comedy writer came in and started adding some humor to it. It's just like not the normal Walking Dead episode. Okay, so Rick and Daryl are out, and Rick turns on his music, and Daryl's like, no, don't turn on, no. He's playing this ridiculous loud country music that's bloody awful. Now we get to see what Rick's music is, and I would not want to sit in the same car as him. I would not want to be his passenger. That is just awful, awful. And it's really fun, just like from the beginning there as they're driving out. It sets the mood, sort of what this episode is going to be. And it's not like overt humor where everyone's acting ridiculous and stuff. It's just all natural, everything's working. And, okay, so I believe somewhere in between there, Michonne sees Spencer going into the woods while she's up on a tower, or up on the wall, like, scanning the area, and she decides to go after him and see what he's doing. She catches up to him, and he's just acting weird, and she doesn't really know what he wants. And at the same time, Enid had a talk with Maggie at some point, but it's not really, that one was sort of filler just to, like, shove Maggie into this episode a little. It didn't really matter, but Carl and Enid are just like hanging out in the woods, which is important later, but at first it's just like, okay, so this is just to see how Carl's doing right now. And Carl seems normal. It just seems like regular Carl. He's not like emo now that he lost his eye or anything, so that's pretty cool. It's like he's lost his eye, but he's still the same guy. Okay, and then other than that, now Rick and Daryl go to this place. It's like a barn or something. I don't remember. Sorghum or something there is written on the door. They open it up and there's this truck that's full of supplies. So right off the bat, it's great right there. And Rick's like totally optimistic, and they take out the truck and he's like, "This is a good day. Daryl, we're having a good day here." And then they end up by a gas station. Now, because of the stupid soda that Denise wanted, because Denise wanted it because she heard in Tara while she was sleeping talking about soda, and she knew that, well, she figured that if she got that for her, it would win her some points or something, I guess. But that sort of informs us that they're now a couple, sort of overtly, really. It just, they seem to be living together now, so it's been a while, and they've really gotten real close now. At first, I wasn't sure, like, when you saw them kiss for the first time, if they were going to be a couple or not, but yeah, they're a couple from that, you can tell. Okay, anyway, while they're there at the gas station, they flip over this, I'm gonna call it, what is it, snack machine to get the soda, and this dude comes out and bumps him. It's Jesus from the comics. Now, some of you guys may not know this character at all. You might just figure that this is a normal character, nothing special about him. He's actually in the comics. His name is Paul Monroe, but in the TV show his name is Paul Rovia. I'm not sure why they changed that. I guess because Deanna's last name was Monroe. Deanna Monroe. So I guess they had to change that for some reason. I'm not sure what the whole story was behind that, but yeah. And he's like talking to them real quick, and Rick sort of seems to want him to be part of their group after they sort of have a quick discussion with the guy, but the guy takes off, and he's warning them of walkers that are coming their way. And meanwhile, their truck that has all the supplies is just sitting there with the door open, and I guess the keys are in the ignition. Stupid people, why wouldn't they take out the keys or anything? But whatever, it's for the sake of the episode and for the fun of all of us. And so Rick and Daryl rush over to a noise that they hear. They see it's just firecrackers going off. And then Daryl says, did you leave the keys in the car or something like that? And they turn around and go heading back. Oh no, that's right. Jesus took the keys off of Rick when he bumped into him. That's right, that's it. Okay, so they head back and they see the car taking off, the truck, so it's like, a screw up right there. So they head up, they just start running after it. And then in between that we see Carl hanging out with Enid, and they see a walker walking around in the distance. Carl goes, first they saw earlier that Spencer and Michonne are walking around out there, and they were just like wondering what's going on with that. But then after Carl sees Deanna's as a zombie there, Deanna's a zombie, which she's not as mangled as she should be, because when the walkers were heading into that room, there was a bunch of them, and she was still alive. She should have been like shredded to pieces, but I'm willing to allow this right here for the episode's sake again. And Carl doesn't want to kill her, but Enid wants to kill her. I don't think Enid quite understands why Carl doesn't want to kill her, and Carl doesn't really explain it to her or anything, and she seems angry at him, and he sends her away. So Carl is leading zombie Deanna around, and that's because when he meets up, he takes her to where Spencer and Michonne are and leaves so that they'll know where the walker is. And that is because he knows that you have to kill your own family member, I guess. It's like, he's killed his mom, he's had to do some really horrible things, but I think he understands Spencer's position here. Spencer went out there with a shovel and a gun, and a knife, and he was ready to kill his mom and bury her. It's what he had to do. It's the last thing he had to do before he could just move on with his life. And I think Carl picked up on that almost immediately as soon as he saw them out there, and then he sees Deanna. He kind of understands what's going on here, put two and two together. Or not, I don't know, but I like that. That was a good little addition there. And then later, Michonne talks to Carl saying you shouldn't have done that, and Carl explains his position and why he did it, and all is well for them. But meanwhile, Rick is still having trouble with Jesus here, so Rick and Daryl are running after him, and eventually they catch up to where he is. He's like replacing a tire on the truck because it broke down. So they sneak up on Jesus and jump him. Rick gets to him first, and he's like grabs him around his back, and then Jesus shows that he's a karate guy, which actually he's in the comics can fight quite a bit. He's like some sort of samurai type dude. I'm not sure what he's trained in, but he knocks the crap out of Rick and tosses him to the floor, which is not usually all that hard. Guys usually tend to have more trouble with Rick, even though Rick's not the toughest guy. Like, he got beaten the crap out of by the governor. But Daryl then heads towards him and like gets tossed around immediately, but finally Rick's able to tackle him to the ground, and then they start having a small discussion as they tie him up there to leave him. Now Rick tells him that the ropes are loose enough for him to get out later because they're not leaving him for dead. And Daryl tosses this can towards him and he's like, there, you can drink that. Daryl's really mad at him because he popped all the cans in his backpack that he got from the vending machine back when, what's his name? Paul Monroe, I guess. I'm just going to call him Paul because I can't remember Jesus for some reason. He tosses him up against the truck, and that caused all of his soda cans to explode. So that really pissed him off. So I love it. Daryl in this episode is a lot more like old season 1 Daryl. He's snippy, he's acts like a redneck, and he's just tough and angry. I love it. This is old Daryl. I love it. You don't get to see him all that much act like this since like late season 3. Anyway, let me take a look at where we are. There's a lot to remember, so forgive me as I struggle through this. Okay. Okay, yeah, so there's this one line that Jesus has that just I find really funny. It's a quick exchange between him and Rick. He says, as he's on the floor and they're pointing their guns at him, he says, I think you know I'm not a bad guy. And Rick says, yeah, but you don't know us. And that's a great little scene there. It's like the way everything's done, the way it's said, that just made me laugh. I love that scene a lot. That was well done. This entire episode is extremely well done, and I get a lot of enjoyment from this one, so I was able to watch it twice without being bored at even any point in it. So that's rare for an episode. Okay, but past that, Rick and Daryl are now in the truck and they're driving, and after a while they hear a noise up on the roof, and Daryl says, he got up on the roof. So Rick stomps on the brakes and he goes flying over the front. That right there is, again, funny. And then he stands up and goes running. So Rick's taking after him in the car, and Daryl hops out and they go chasing after him. And then they sort of get into this fight. It's weird. There's these walkers that are tied to a truck. I don't know what that's all about. Was that something that Jesus had done earlier? The ropes on the zombies just like break away and they start heading towards Rick. So Rick takes them out. But what was that all about? Do you guys know? Did they mention that? I think maybe that's from something else. I'm not sure. But also, okay, anyway. Daryl finally gets in a fight with him, and after catching him, and they get like inside of the truck, and Jesus got his gun, points it at Daryl, and says, duck. Daryl ducks, shoots a walker behind him, and then Daryl stands up and says, thanks, takes the gun and punches Jesus across the face. And I just love that. That right there is hearkening back to the old Daryl that I really liked the most. So now Daryl has really gotten to be a good character again. For a while there, he was just that guy who stands in the background and grunts and just does nothing really. Now he's returning to his old roots. Okay. But as they're fighting in there, they hit like the gears and it moves to neutral and it just goes sliding back into a lake. They both fall out, and as the truck's moving, it whacks out Jesus' head, makes him unconscious. And Daryl and Rick take him back to Alexandria. But they weren't going to at first because Daryl's like, Rick's like, we can't leave him here. And Daryl's like, okay, let's tie him to a tree. And then later on you see him, you wouldn't have just left him at a tree. Yeah, I would have. Daryl's like really angry at this guy. He has to sit in the back with him, and Rick like takes a turn just right so that the guy keeps flopping into Daryl, and it's pissing him off. I love that. Okay. And then finally after they get home, he puts Daryl in charge of taking care of Jesus, just like keeping an eye on him while the doctor takes care of him and all. And then Rick goes back home, sits on the couch next to, and then Michonne sits next to him, and it's all dark, it's like candlelit, and she shows the baby on the baby monitor, she says she's asleep, it's all nice, and then they're talking, and it's sort of becoming obvious that they're going to be romantic here, and just like, as soon as they touch hands at one point, they start gripping each other's hands better, stronger, and they start getting intimate, and then it's, thankfully, before it gets dirty, it skips right to them being in bed together afterwards. So I like that. That's classy, not to actually have to show what's going on there, but finally, for a lot of you Richonne fans, or Richonne or whatever, this is what you've been waiting for, and for me, I think this is actually pretty cool. Rick needs a love interest. It's what kind of makes a TV show more likable when the main character has someone to love, and I think this will work out pretty well, even though I kind of did prefer them as friends, but as long as they don't break up and there's like animosity between them, I think this will be good, as long as they're like Andrea and Rick in the comics, where they're like pretty much married at this point. They've been together for a long time, so yeah, I think that could turn out really well. I kind of really like that relationship. But anyway, while they're lying in bed, suddenly Jesus is standing right at the foot of the bed. They wake up and they like hop to their weapons. Michonne stands up with her sword, Rick's holding his gun on him, and Jesus is just standing there with his hands behind his back, and he's like, puts up one hand, and he says, we need to talk. And he definitely needs to talk. They definitely need to talk if he's just going to walk in on naked people. But anyway, that was a really good episode, and that ending really leaves a lot open. It makes me very excited for the next episode, what we're going to see. Perhaps the hilltop, which I don't think I'm going to spoil the hilltop for anyone who's not read the comics. If you haven't read the comics, then this is probably a huge chunk, and I'm just not going to tell you guys until you've seen it, just in case. But yeah, that was really great. And by the way, Xander Berkeley I believe he is going to be in charge of the hilltop. Just if you want to look up all that stuff and see what that means. Anyway, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I would like to say, please leave a comment of a TWD related question, The Walking Dead. I will respond to it in a video that I do on Saturday. I always do this when the show is on, and every week after a video I will do that. So yeah, make sure to do that, guys. I will respond, I swear. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe again, and I'll see you guys